Fragrances that are redundant to own both of. I'm doing a part 2 to this series, guys, because you guys seem to like the previous part so much. To remind you guys, this series is not about fragrances that smell like each other in terms of being a clone, let's say, but actually it's more like fragrances that have a similar vibe or feeling to each other, to the point where I feel that if you had both of these in each pairing, you'd end up having one of them being redundant. You wouldn't reach for one of them unless you absolutely love the style of each of these pairings so much that actually having two wouldn't be a problem for you. But for most people, I always say that having between 10 to 20 fragrances in your collection is the sweet spot. So I always say go for quality in your collection, not quantity. I think for each of these pairings of fragrances that are redundant to own both of, I can recommend, if you like both of them, you maybe use one bottle of one of them first and then get the other fragrance afterwards. You'll understand what I mean as I go through the video. But hopefully you guys enjoy this part of the series. I think this topic is quite useful. I don't want you guys to have redundant fragrances in your collection. Let's begin. Hey guys, if you haven't already, make sure to check out our own brand, Atrium Fragrance. The brand vision is to have us men explore new ideas together to help push the industry forward. I'd rather you guys check out our samples first instead of going straight for full bottles, because I don't want you guys to be customers. I want you to be fanatics and really love the stuff you are buying before you go ahead and commit to them. The link to Atrium Fragrance is in the description below. Make sure to share your thoughts. Thanks. Okay, let's get out the way the pairing I'm gonna get the most hate for. I always get so much hate for saying this, but it's Dior Homme 2020, the modern release, and Bleu de Chanel. I have the Eau de Parfum here. I don't think you need to own both of these fragrances. I'm gonna get a lot of hate, guys. I know it. Go ahead, start typing, go for it. I still think these fragrances have a very similar idea to each other. I said in previous videos that I tried Dior Homme 2020 from in stores, in department stores a few times. I thought to myself instantly, this is such a similar concept to Bleu de Chanel. You guys give me a lot of hate, so I went ahead and bought the full bottle. I got it here, wore it several more times, and I still hold to my opinion, guys. I haven't been budged or moved from my opinion at all. I do think they're both citrus, woody, amber fragrances that are based off of ISOE Super a lot. They have very similar woody molecules. I will say that Dior Homme 2020 is more of an LME based fragrance. It's a note that gives a sort of ambery facet to a fragrance with a bit of freshness up top. So I think it's a mid or base note that changes throughout the dry down of a fragrance. It does smell a little bit more modern than Bleu de Chanel. Bleu de Chanel sort of has a bit more florals in it, some different musks they use here, but they're very similar concepts. They're both woody, citrus, amber fragrances that you use all year round. They're your signatures. I mean, Dior Homme 2020 is sort of more of a daytime scent in my opinion, whilst Bleu de Chanel is a bit more balanced between day and night, but hey, they're both all year round signatures basically. Both mass appealing, both will get you compliments. I think Dior Homme 2020 is a bit more simplistic and not as artistic as Bleu de Chanel in my opinion. And I get similar performance from both of these, around 8 hours with a medium projection. I personally still give this to Bleu de Chanel, and I know I'm not crazy, guys, because I went on Fragrantica and I saw this perfume reminds me of section that for Dior Homme 2020, some people do say that there is a similarity to Bleu de Chanel. I'm not saying they're clones at all, guys, but it's a similar concept. I do feel that Dior had a lot of success with Sauvage, and then they saw Bleu de Chanel and thought, okay, maybe we can recreate the success from Bleu de Chanel as well. I feel like that's what this fragrance is. I do think they are kind of basing their attempts with this fragrance based on this fragrance here. And there is a lot of similarity. I stand by that. What do you guys think? Well, we're still sticking on the topic of Dior and Chanel. Let's discuss these two. Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum and Chanel's Pour Monsieur Eau de Parfum. Make sure you guys don't get this wrong. These are not old releases. These are not old school. These are the new versions of their original fragrances that were released in recent times. So I think Eau Sauvage Parfum came out in 2017, and hopefully the editor of this video could put out the release year of Pour Monsieur Eau de Parfum as well. So they're both recent releases. Eau Sauvage Parfum is based off Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette from 1966, and then Pour Monsieur, the Eau de Toilette, came out in the 1960s as well. They've basically taken that sort of traditional masculine barbershop DNA, made it more modern, and basically made them more ambery. So these are both on the sweeter side of the barbershop fragrance DNA. Eau Sauvage Parfum is a stronger fragrance, whilst Pour Monsieur, I feel like it has that more Chanel elegance in here and is more complex in its blend, but it doesn't last as long. 12 hours plus with Eau Sauvage Parfum, 6 hours with Pour Monsieur Eau de Parfum. They're both nice, elegant, mature barbershop amber fragrances that will suit the modern man. But I will say Eau Sauvage Parfum gets the win for me just because the performance difference is so much. But I do not think you need to own both of these. Choose one and go for it. But they're both very nice fragrances in my opinion. 32% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys want to see our channel grow, to really help us out, click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Ormonde Jayne's Montabaco Intensivo and Creed Silver Mountain Water, which is hopefully floating on screen somewhere because I don't own a bottle, but hey, I've worn it many times. And again, they're not clones at all, but they give a similar vibe. They're both tea-based, relaxing, calming fragrances for the mature, elegant gentleman. Again, both nice niche fragrances, but Ormonde Jayne Montabaco Intensivo has a lot more going on in my opinion. They're both nice blends, but this is a more interesting blend in my opinion. It doesn't have a clone of it like Silver Mountain Water does, has several clones that do a fairly good job actually. And I feel like this is just a better performer, more interesting, more artistic and creative perfumery in the blend here overall, which is why I recommend this over Creed's Silver Mountain Water. To me, Ormonde Jayne's Montabaco Intensivo is a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect fragrance in my opinion, but it doesn't have any sweetness. Just bear that in mind. This is definitely for a mature and experienced in perfumery kind of gentleman, if you know what I mean. This fragrance was in the previous part as well, but now I'm back to roast it in a different way. Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille and Terence Hughes Tabac. So last time I compared Tobacco Vanille with Naxos, and I said that they're similar kind of special occasion evening fragrance for the cold weather. That's why you don't need to own both. This is actually where I think the scent profiles themselves are fairly similar. They're very similar concepts, where Tobacco Vanille is a little bit more gourmandy, a little bit more mainstream and safer as a quote-unquote niche fragrance. There's, you know, tobacco, vanilla, and gourmand notes in here. Things like dried fruits or something like that, or cacao, cocoa powder, something like that is in there. And Tabac by Terence Hughes is more of a realistic, probably much higher quality, more expensive, realistic tobacco notes in here. Probably a tobacco absolute or some sort of really high quality extract that really smells like a realistic tobacco pipe. Literally like you're smoking the real thing, but in a much more healthy way because you're not smoking it. It's realistic tobacco with an interesting bit of vanilla, some sweetness, definitely not as sweet as Tobacco Vanille, and it's got this interesting oud note in here as well, which makes it a lot more interesting, a lot more expensive smelling. I think they're both similarly priced because Terence Hughes is a very reasonably priced brand, and I will say this is definitely the higher quality fragrance. A little bit more challenging, but overall still very pleasant. It's easily one of his best-selling fragrances from what I can tell. It always seems to be sold out. So I definitely think if you're going to check out Terence Hughes, check out Tabac. It's one of his best fragrances for sure. Dolce & Gabbana's The One Eau de Parfum and Yves Saint Laurent's La Nuit de l'Homme. These are both masterful fragrances. They're both classics. They are the weekly performing, beautiful smelling date night fragrance DNAs that a lot of beginners will get into. I don't think you need to own both of these fragrances. I think you should try them both. But I kind of feel like, again, they don't have the same profile, but they have a similar family, they have a similar function. Both really gorgeous, but basically, if you want a more light and airy, spicy, woody amber fragrance, go for La Nuit de l'Homme. If you want the more masculine, a bit more intense, spicy, woody amber fragrance, you go for Dolce & Gabbana, The One Eau de Parfum. They have overlapping notes in both their breakdowns. They're both, you know, not the best performing, both really sexy. They're both really inviting and enticing. So I say, you know, you can get like bottles this size and you can just overspray both of these. You can go and experience both of them one at a time. You'll go through each bottle one at a time first and then get the other one. So I think you don't really need to own both of these, but hey, it's not the end of the world if you own both because they're both so sexy. It's a tie from me. And the last pairing, guys, is Chanel's Antaeus and Yves Saint Laurent's Kouros. You might understand why this pairing has been mashed together. They're both 80s powerhouse animatic fragrances with a clean lavender barbershop background in there. Antaeus has the note of castoreum, which comes from the sac of a beaver, whilst Kouros has civet, which comes from the sac of a civet animal. So pick your poison. I think these are both really cool fragrances. I do think Antaeus is a bit more dark, a little bit more complex in its blend, a little bit more elegant. I think it's a better quality fragrance, but that's because you are paying more than you are for Kouros. Whilst Kouros is more of a, let's say, daytime scent, Antaeus is more of an evening scent. Kouros is more like, if you imagine the 80s when people were smoking loads of cigarettes, chain smoking, they wanted to cover up that scent, they wanted something strong. This is the kind of vibe you're getting with this, but it's still super sexy, manly, and masterful blends in both. Both of them have great blends in their own rights. I think they're both 10 out of 10s when you bear in mind their price tags. I think they're fantastic fragrances. They're really cool tributes to perfumery and what came beforehand. I do wish the animalic style of fragrances were a bit more common and prominent in today's market, but hey, I understand why. Not a lot of people will like them nowadays. But basically, if you want a super intense, masculine, animalic fragrance for the cold weather, get one or the other. Probably Antaeus is a little bit more safe, but you can choose one or the other. I don't think you need to own both unless you absolutely adore animalic notes in perfumery. Love both of these personally, it's a tie. And that concludes this video, guys. What are your thoughts on my opinions and choices today? I'm still thinking about the comments that's going to be written about Dior Homme 2020 and Bleu de Chanel. I wonder what I'm going to see. I can't wait, guys. But yeah, what do you guys think? Have you seen the previous part of this video? Make sure you check it out if you haven't already, guys. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.